there's that little red box thingy. Can you see how this thing is just going there and down here? Because that's actually one polyline running there. Okay, but it would be very difficult to see that without it. Okay, so I did this. Let me just hide this yellow layer. Let's hide that. And maybe, so looks like Block Corners has stuff on it that's causing some duplication. Okay, so the yellow line, can you see it represents the road reserve? The red lines are just some lines, but each one is different. So I found sometimes it's useful just to change the colors. So they're all on one layer, but we don't know which line is which, okay? So what I often do is I go to CAD, line, because it's lines we're working with. What are we working with? What do we want to do, eh? And we say edit. So edit allows us to edit the attribute. It doesn't really change the geometry of the line. It's an attribute thing. And I'm going to just change to, let's look at pink. Hey. And I'm going to make that line pink. Okay, so that one's still red. But you can see the dots are also going around. So that is such a wonderful tool there to tell me what it is. That one shows me a closed figure. And if I hold it just on the yellow, it shows a closed figure going all around. Okay, so it's very easy to work with polylines. Okay, so now you know the difference between a real polyline and a segmented line is real polylines are all connected. Eh? And for what I'm going to do now is you're going to get plans from a town planner, and you need to hatch some lines. One of the things all of us should know about is this one called ID, do ID. And in here, you would ID all elements currently loaded or whatever, and then go to man ID, and there's this thing called housekeep in here somewhere. There, housekeep. Okay, so this works best with segmented lines only, but what it will do is it will trim and extend and make CAD lines. I'll just bring up the utility so you can see it. So there's three options, and some of you might have seen this in Survey Maker. The most common one is this one, where you can trim back and extend lines to each other. So it's literally going to fill those gaps and make sure that everything is nice, tidy, and connected, okay? And what's nice is you can also set up a tolerance value. So if you have that splay here and there and it's fairly short lines, you don't want to mess them up, you can set up a tolerance so that it doesn't break all your CAD, okay? But we're going to sit with CAD from town planners that's going to be useless, and we probably have to redraw everything. That's going to happen. Okay, so I just wanted to point out you can use that. And then there's another one in your man ID menu, intersect cut. So you sometimes have urban running, and you've got just these lines running all across each other. And what we want to do is, if we're going to define areas, we want to break those lines up where they cross, so that we sit with little line segments so that we can identify an area easier. Let me bring that layer back in there. I think it's this one. So for instance, if I need to work out the area of that little portion there, I would go to my area tool, and I would use my track line option, and I would just click inside it. But you can see it just ran, boom, straight down. It didn't pick up that area because these lines were not broken up into pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take them quickly. So I'm going to say ID new. So my mind went in a total different direction just now. Sorry about that, but you get the value, I hope. You can choose it by color. Okay, so now I need to make sure, do I perhaps have something that's going to be manipulated now? It's ID'd, but is there something somewhere that I don't want to manipulate like this? Okay, I like to work simplistic as much as I can, and to clean out the screen from clutter, switching off layers, that's important. So I'm going to switch my DTM off. I'm going to then, okay, so all that's left now is CAD, and I just press normal once just to make sure everything is in view. So it zoomed out like that because of the images sitting there. So just bear that in mind. So, but I can see there's no other CAD really, but there's this button. That's what I'm on about. Only identified CAD. Okay. It literally switches everything that's not ID'd off. And I can then look at that and say, oh yes, it's okay. That's the stuff I want to now cut into pieces and do whatever with. You understand? Okay, so now that I've got that, I can just go man ID and say intersect cut. And it literally, if all the lines are joined up properly, it cuts it into pieces. So there didn't happen, there didn't happen, down here didn't happen. You see that? So it could be that those lines are not properly trimmed, or it could be that they're already segmented. I'm not sure. So I have to go and look at it, but it tells me lines divided and 77 new lines created, 61 polylines divided. Okay, let's go and see. So I'm going to go immediately and say line move, and you can see there, it's not happening. Okay, so then I think, oh golly, I need to fix that. So I go ID new, so I'll say do ID new, and then I'll just say ID by line. But as soon as I close this dialog, it's actually not going to replot. Okay, good. So I'm going to say ID by line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line across lines to ID them. Okay, so anything intersecting that line will be ID'd. But because that is selected, as soon as I replot, everything will disappear because nothing is ID'd at the moment. Do you understand that? Because that's a filter to say only show what is ID'd. So you have to be mindful of this. So by line, if I redraw, they disappear. So I switch that thing off because a lot of people goes and lose precious time looking for their stuff, but they forget that that thing is on. So it's useful, but dangerous. So now I'm selecting all of that. Oh, this is in the exclude mode still. Online ID, new, include by line. Track line is on, that's why. So that didn't work and didn't go well as planned. And there it picks it up. Okay, so now I've got them. And then I can go to man ID and I can say trim line, that one. So look at it, it says, I'm disregarding all of these buttons because I'm looking at the header. I'm working with lines now, so I don't have to look at global, I don't have to look at text, I don't have to look at circles. So a lot of people get stuck on the buttons. Don't do that. Focus, what am I working with? What do I want to do? You see it? Okay, so go lines and we say trim line. And then if I click that line, it trims to it. Yes. Trim that one, yes. Trim that one. Trim means it extends or it trims. Interesting, but true. Oh, there's something else happened. So there's a polyline in the mix there. So I'll say no, not satisfied. Let's go and switch those polylines off. I think it's, they're all in the one thing. So I can't use color. I can use length. Okay, so I can, so now immediately I think, okay, but I need to get rid of that red line in the background because I accidentally snap it when I shouldn't. So that happens. Okay, so let's just, this is, you know, the stuff that people get stuck on and they just don't understand when it happens. Okay, so now we've extended those lines. Hopefully all of them are on that line, all right? And I'm going to go and say do ID again, and I'm going to use pen and say yellow, but remember the road reserve is also yellow. So I'm going to say exclude any polylines. So all elements, line that is of the polyline type. So I use the exclude tool to find a line that is a polyline. I'm saying exclude it from ID. Okay, so what is left is that. Okay, so it seems the worry I had didn't exist because there was never a line there to start off with. Although I did see, so the yellow line is actually the polyline. So another way to check that is to say, I'll switch everything on, go to layers and say, don't show any polylines. Okay. So I was worried for nothing. So I went through all of that for nothing, only to end up with this result, which happens. But at least I can see where every line endpoint is at all times. And there's another one that's going to be useful for you. If you ever need to find out what type of entity am I looking at, there's this thing that says show endpoints. Whoever tried to use that button? Yeah. Are there people? Have you? Okay, so those of you that know about it, it is fantastic. Oops, let's just get everything back on. Because you can be zoomed out into infinity. You can load a DXF or a DWG, and sometimes it loads garbage somewhere. Have you ever had that? You know, you never know where it is. So you just get this drawing and there's nothing there. And then you click on status and you go to CAD string and it tells you it's got all of this CAD stuff loaded, but I don't see it. Where is it? Okay, so this is one of those little gems. That's the shortcut for it right there. But the one I used was this one. It's in the layer menu. That shows a little constant scale something. So then you get to learn what they mean. So a light blue one is a segmented line, and a green one is a polyline, and a diamond is patterns, and you know, each one has its color, and you sort of get to know them. Then you know, oh, that's a dimension. So I have to go to CAD dimension delete to delete it. Who came across that before? Okay, sometimes it's crazy. So we need to work with that because we dealt with what we have to work with. All right. So now I've got all my lines. They're all segmented and cut in pieces, but I can't do areas there still because we don't have a line running there. We have a polyline. So if I wanted to do the areas, I would have to explode those polylines, intersect cut them, and then I would have a proper definable area. Do you understand that? So I would then do that here, throw it into Survey Maker, define the main figure only, and the whole cadastral plan and all the figures are, what's that? Consistency, what do you call it? You've got, when you have to do that area and you have to close with a, is that the consistency? Yeah, so the consistency will be done, the areas will be calculated, urban will be named, everything will be done as quicker than I can actually talk about it. So Model Maker assists us to do this nice trim and extend and clean up, and then the intersect cut. And if this is a general plan, I would throw it into Survey Maker and just finish it in there. Okay, so that's going to be your interaction. Okay, because a GP there takes 2 minutes to do 99% of the work. Okay, right, so now we've got a little bit to talk about that. So let me just do one little line in there just so that I can finish what, at least qualify what I'm going on about. So I'm just drawing these little lines by hand manually, okay? Because I wanted to do an area calculation there just to show you how easy it is. So F6, or using the area tool, I also said F6, but it's the same thing. So if you don't have that menu, it's under the survey menu and then area at the bottom. Okay, so if just for some reason you might not have that icon, just so you know. All right, so I'm going to say define the area and use my track line option and click there. Okay, so you don't really see it, but there's a little bit of a thicker line running there now. Okay, my color for area definition is orange, and the lines are orange, so it sort of messes us up a bit. But the area is calculated. And then if you do this, so the first time around, I clicked on the inside. If I click on the outside, it's going to run rampant. Okay, so there's no direction in where it's going. See, now it's all over the show. So if lines are connected by, if I didn't have these lines, for instance, let's assume I only had all of these lines and I click on the outside, it would have tracked the outside. But as soon as you click on the inside of that figure, it will just track the inside of those lines. So it's something to get used to when you use it, okay? So just so you know, okay, I'm using Control Z to undo. And I'm using the, you can actually use the numeric keypad plus key to redo also. Undo, redo. Okay. Right, so let's do our, yeah, I'm gonna just stop this video for the topic.